Hello everyone, welcome to Gossip with CD. So guys, let's go to Telangana, India. Even though this video is going to be a little bit different because this video is aiming at any girl that plans or at least contemplating on becoming Miss World in the future, whether that is 2026 or 2027 or sometimes in the future. Please listen up because this might guide you to the crown, because I see a lot of mistakes that are happening with the contestants over the years. Because if you follow Miss World is very different from Miss Universe. Miss Universe is more almost like liberal type of situation where you can get away with almost everything, versus Miss World where you have to be queenly. And by queenly, guys, this organization was established by a British person. So you can imagine the type of girls that Julia Marley looks for when they are going to choose who is going to be Miss World of that particular period. So you need to study. These things are very, very important. But I want to give you about 6 things that you should pay attention to as you dream of becoming Miss World. Trust me, if you are going to follow these 6 guides that I have for you, then let me tell you something. Even if you do not win the crown, you will get as close as possible to it. But the goal is to win the crown. And the girls that are winning the crown consistently, like India, is because they understand the organization, what the organization wants. Because the judges, they get a brief and they look at the brief, and that is why they have these tasks that the girls have to go through for almost 25 days, so that they get to see that, okay, this is our Miss World, and this Miss World is portraying and showing the things that represents Miss World organization. All right, let's start with number 1, which is your advocacy. Many contestants, when they get chosen in their countries as a Miss, let's say for example, Miss Ethiopia, suddenly Miss Ethiopia will now look for an advocacy that she is going to take to Miss World. Again, you must understand that Miss World organization has seen it all and heard it all. And they can tell when you just started your advocacy for this purpose of entering Miss World, or because you've been chosen as a Miss of your country, and now you know that at Miss World you need to have a beauty with a purpose, and now suddenly you are fumbling over your own advocacy. You are not sure what it is about, or you can't actually express what your advocacy is about, versus a queen who has been in the advocacy that she talks about for at least 2 to 5 years, because that way you are able to talk about it freely, flowly, and understandably to the organization, particularly the judges. So start now by having an advocacy that you are involved in. All right. And secondly, when it comes to your advocacy, can your advocacy be something that is sustainable? Meaning, you are involved in a, I don't know, social whatever activity in your country, and you started probably as a teenager, and it's still going on till the point where you are not elected. Please don't be elected. Don't be chosen either. You need to contest for the crown so that we are able to call you the queen without hesitation. When you come to Miss World, come with a crown that you actually fought for. That is why I have an issue with queens, inverted commas, that are picked. I really don't like that. But what I'm trying to say here, it must be sustainable, that when you are Miss World, you are able to carry that advocacy, and that advocacy must be universal. It must not be something like, for example, Miss India. Miss India's advocacy is on epilepsy. How is epilepsy? Okay, yeah, I think it's epilepsy or something like that. How many people around the world are going through that? You understand what I'm saying? It must be something that could change the world type of situation. And also, it must be sponsorable. By sponsorable, I mean like Miss Universe, if they are looking for sponsors for your advocacy as Miss World, they are able to get it. And after your reign as Miss World, you must still be able to push that advocacy for as long as you are alive on Earth. And also the name that you would have built for yourself and the influence when you walk into companies and walk into relief organizations, you walk away with what you came there for. It must not be something that is unreachable, especially when it is political. Policies of different countries, the politicians are not willing to change those policies. So stay away from anything that is linked to a political policy, because you are not going to sustain that. In fact, you're not even going to get it. As a matter of fact, you're going to be looked at as irritating or even an instigator. So these are the things that Miss World looks for. Thirdly, make sure that your designers, see all your gowns designers for each day that you are at Miss World, including the competition night or the finale, make sure that your designers understand the modesty, and I'm going to say this again, the modesty of Miss World, because Miss World is modest. All right, so they need to understand the modesty of this competition. So how do you see the modesty? You see the modesty, number one, in how the queen herself carries herself, but I'm gonna give a little bit more advice on how to learn that. Okay, secondly, the gowns that your designers are going to design for you, they must also have a touch of modesty but capturing as well, because at the end of the day, we YouTubers that do this sort of content, we want to see our standouts, and your standout is also includes your dress, the outfit of the day, the way you carry yourself in that dress or outfit, because your outfit needs to work with you and it needs to look exactly like your personality as well. And I've heard people say, for example, looking at Miss Venezuela or even Miss South Africa, they're like, oh, they got this old look. You know, I even heard one YouTuber say that Miss South Africa is dressed like a granny. They dress her like a granny. Guess what? It's working for her, because that's what Miss World is about. That modesty. The moment they pointed that out, I was happy. I was like, there we go. Same goes with Miss Venezuela. Miss Venezuela already has the older look, but gorgeous at the same time. And her dresses and outfits also scream modesty. She understands the assignment. So, and then here's number 4, which is also a piece of advice that potential Miss World contestants should also bear in mind. Remember, I said earlier that the Miss World organization was established by a British person, and therefore you know how British people behave, right? You know how they carry themselves. Well, at least let's say the stereotypical British person, you know, snobbish and demure, all these words that describe that they are people who are proud and also carry themselves in a particular way. In other instances that is correct, but in other instances, especially in today's day, well, it's not longer like that. So my point that I'm trying to say is, when you are at Miss World, do not show desperation. Do not show that you are here on a competition ambition, because you are going to lose. And on top of that, you are going to get everybody that is commenting on this to look at you and say, nah, you're an opportunist. do not carry yourself in that way. With some girls, we are seeing that, but we are not saying anything about them because we don't even include them in our list simply because of that. They make us feel a little bit uncomfortable watching them. So this is what I would rather you do starting now. Study how the royal princesses carry themselves, especially the British royal princesses. If you can study them, see how they carry themselves, how they walk, how they basically everything about them, how they look at people in the eye with their eyes. Do they tint their heads? Are they straight? Shoulders, chest, you name it, the way they walk, type of situation. So basically what you are looking at somebody who I would say, in my opinion, a bit of a snob type of situation. So if you can have a snobbish type of behavior and carrying of yourself where you're showing pride, but at the same time there's a dash of humility that screams loud. I know I'm speaking in ironies because that's how you need to show yourself. You need to and that way you're not showing desperation. You are showing an underdog type of behavior at Miss World. And you'll be quickly be noticed by Julia Marley as well as her people that have been briefed about what they need to look out for out of the contestants. And I'm telling you right now, if you are snobbish but confident, at the same time you're not showing any desperation, yet humble, then you are definitely going to be noticed for the crown. Number 5, be approachable, be kind, be friendly, and be helpful. Now, what do I mean by being approachable? So most of the time, you're gonna have a smile on your face, even when it is, I'm sure you'll be tested one way or the other by people that you don't know. They are part of the judging panel. They might say something awful, how you deal with it. Of course, you are going to have an opinion, but in your opinion, how do you then look like when you are correcting this individual? So the approachability must be there. Obviously, you need to be kind, which is going to show through your advocacy. Friendly. When you are with the girls, other queens, you need to exude friendship, sisterhood. You need to be likable by the other girls. And because back in the day, there used to be Miss Congeniality. I don't know if Miss Congeniality still exists. There used to be other awards as well that girls would vote for you for. And back in the day, when you won a certain task, that counted towards your victory if you do end up winning. And I've seen some people saying, hey, Miss so-and-so won so many tasks in this Miss World competition, and so therefore she's going to win the crown. I think they are missing the point. Miss World has moved away from giving victories to girls that won a certain task. For example, Miss Talented, or the best beauty with a purpose. Those things no longer count, guys. You cannot praise a fish for swimming. This is what you are saying you do as a Miss, for example, Miss South Africa. So now why should we also award you the crown because of that? It's no longer like that. So I'm seeing a lot of people challenging me, say, Miss Indonesia won so many tasks. That doesn't count anymore. Is she the material that Miss World is looking for in 2025? That's what is going to make her win, not these tasks that they are winning. Yes, they have points, but are the points enough to drive them to the crown? I don't think so. So because I've studied Miss World, like I've said, guys, all the queens that have won Miss World, I've correctly predicted them. The only one that's a little bit challenging for me is Miss Universe, because I think I've been wrong 4 times now with last year's Miss Universe. 4 times, ever since I was 9 years old. So and I'm not saying I'm an expert. These are my opinions in most cases and all that. And then the final one is also be helpful. By being helpful means volunteer. Don't be like this girl that's just sitting there and you're watching, what do you call this, the workers setting up tables and you're just waiting to go and sit. Try and go and assist. You know, you'll never know who is watching. You know, you'll never know who's watching. And then, of course, number 6 and final guide is be active. You need to do sports. Be a sport active person, or do some kind of dance or playing an instrument or something along those lines. Why? Because as a Miss World, you might get invited to the Olympic Games and they might ask you to throw a baseball or bat a baseball type of situation, or run 10 meters to open the track competition, or whatever the case might be. All right. Also, do not be a dunderhead. You also need to have opinions, but your opinions, let me advise you, your opinions must build, not to be instigators. For example, if you are going to have an opinion about the war, any war that is happening, be to build your opinion must build. It must not instigate and must also not criticize. You understand what I'm saying? Because Miss World does not want to get themselves a queen that is going to put the organization into disrepute. All right? You have an opinion, but your opinion must aim to build, not to instigate or criticize. All right? And then I think once you grasp these things, then you are going to be definitely one of the queens that the Miss World organization is going to look at or notice for the crown. Everything else, I don't know how to help you then. I wouldn't know how to help you. But that is all that I wanted to say in this video in advising future Miss World contestants. All right. So please don't leave this video without liking, sharing, commenting, and subscribing. And I'll see you next time on the new video. Goodbye.